Hello and welcome to Offsite Dirt. I'm Audree Grubesic, the founder and host of our show, the Offsite Construction series. We have a special guest with us that is leading the efforts in design, in architect, and also in the modular space, volumetrics. And the wonderful thing about this person is that I actually had the opportunity to spend several days with him at the Advancing Prefabrication event in Arizona I think it was last April. So I am presenting with CSHQA, architectural firm, design firm, and Jesse Goldman. Jesse Goldman is the principal and managing the Denver office. He is also a member of the board. Jesse, welcome to Offsite Dirt. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Audrey, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I love that. I was so impressed with hanging out with you, also having the great opportunity to work with you and your team on a project that we were putting together for a developer in Nevada, and certainly impressed with the way that your organization works, how it functions, your communication style, and it really starts with leadership. Would you mind giving us a little bit of your background? And then we're going to jump into some questions about process, some questions about education, community, and kind of move forward as to how your 100-plus-year-old company is making a difference in the prefab industry.
Yeah, wonderful. My background, individually, I've spent some time doing a lot of different types of architecture throughout my past, and right before coming to CSHQA, I got to work on my first what I'll call modular project, which was a shipping container-based project. And I really fell in love with the idea of and the complexity of how you're building something in a factory. You're worried about shipping it, how it comes together then in the field, and you're kind of designing the project twice. And there's a lot more to the puzzle. And my role as an architect is a puzzle solver. And that's the part that always encourages me is finding the little moments where I can make a detail better, make a solution better for a client, and solve a puzzle in a better way. And so I was so excited to do a shipping container project, and I've done many since, and it's led to having the opportunity to work now on steel volumetric modular, wood volumetric modular, shipping container based. So really hit the gamut. And then also offsite constructed panelized systems that have been integrated with our projects as well. As a firm, we've been able to do this on a variety of different projects. And I think this is the new opportunity within our industry. That's really going to be rising with the lack of labor in some markets and the need to get buildings built in a conditioned space and a safe environment. There's really so many wins to be had by moving some of these pieces off site and then bringing them to the final project.
I agree with you, and I love that your firm has been around. What did you say, 100 and what, 30 years?
135 years
That's
ish, plus or minus
insane,
one or two.
right?
Yeah.
Gosh, so just the experience, just being able to be in such a vast array of different types of construction processes. And you and I were really talking about when we were working together and also with your office in Idaho, the thing that was really, or maybe it was California at that time, but the thing that was really interesting was your thoughtful process for the developer and really educating and designing for this greater solution for the client. It wasn't about what you were going to do for them. It was how can we be thoughtful about what we are trying to solve and what is the best solution to using that? Can you kind of talk us through maybe an example or how your firm has dedicated this belief system and actually not only believing it, but also serving system?
Well, the first part of any project is listening and listening to understand what the needs of the client are, what the needs of the project are, and what the needs of the site are, and really coming up with a solution that addresses all of that. In some cases, modular works. In some cases, it doesn't. In some cases, you need high design. In some cases, you need just a very efficient design to meet the needs of that client. And we really pride ourselves on listening and creating solutions that matter for our clients, and then educating them along the way about different ways to accomplish their goals, and then finding opportunities to make their project better along the way through our vast knowledge throughout our firm. I really enjoy helping our clients beyond just the scope of architecture as well. If we see areas to point out that will change efficiencies in their business by something we could do with the building, or even something with outside of the building, I like to ask the question. I like to understand how they work and why they work, and how what we can do can make an impact on them as a business and as a community.
And I think the other really wonderful, resourceful thing about working with CSHQA is your amazing network and relationships, knowing that you're licensed in 52 states, knowing that you have this team that you have created in order to figure out those solutions. And I'm just going to mention, you have done hospitality, this new QSR, which I did not know was quick serve restaurants.
Yeah.
You've also done multifamily, you've done retail. Is there any project that really sticks out in your mind?
We're really excited to be doing some new QSRs right now. The excitement is we're building larger modular buildings in the factory that are single unit modulars that are 16 or 17 feet wide, depending on the use, which is a super wide load. And we're shipping them very far distances, which there's obviously a cost that needs to be weighed with that. But when we have a building that wide and we can avoid having any mate lines, which is when you bring the two buildings, two or more modules together, and you have to put them together in the field. When we can avoid that, we increase the speed so incredibly of getting a customer up and running. The last one we did, I believe, once the building was set, they were open and operational and serving food within 3 weeks of the set of the building, which is just fantastic. We had equipment. A lot of the equipment was installed in the factory for that unit. Not all of it, but most of it was ready to go when we got there.
It's incredible to be able to think about that efficiency. And what does that do for the end user, the end client? He is, they have these construction loans. Now you're minimizing the amount of interest. You're also creating profitability day one. So being able to have a solution and walk through that, I can only imagine how your client must feel about it. What has been their reaction to this type of project or this type of building system?
Well, they're ordering more. So I think that answers the question, is that proof of concept has worked and they're ordering more, and they're asking us to ship them further. The latest one that we had ordered is going to go halfway across the country because they see the value in what this is doing for them, and they see the value in being able to sell that food and their product a little bit quicker. If they can be selling food 2 months earlier, it's a no-brainer in their mind.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I actually heard that one of the biggest growing areas for offsite solution or a prefab solution is this QS. Are you seeing that as the same trend?
Yeah, I think that's a big place for this. Obviously, multifamily is a big place when it makes sense, and those are the two biggest areas where I'm seeing growth in offsite.
I talk to a lot of I have the greatest opportunity to talk to a lot of CEOs and a lot of people that actually run these manufacturing plants. And there's a couple of interesting things, Jesse, that I find. One is the developer is now getting savvy enough that they have to double and triple their production. So they are creating their own factory. And not only are they creating their own factory, they're working like with companies like yourself, where they're only designing 4 or 5 plan sets, and they are using that same plan set over and over and over again. What is your feeling about that?
Well, it does create efficiencies. It goes back to, how vehicles are made with limited models, limited colors, and any anything you want to do to a vehicle you can do aftermarket, but you don't get it off the factory floor like that. That is what creates the efficiencies that's going to really make this work. It's really up to the architect, though, I think, and the design team to understand what efficiencies we can play with. Just because the modules have to stack, we have to create vertical alignments of plumbing chases, of structure. There's still the ability to play and design a building and come up with really fantastic design within modular construction. So while maintaining those core components, it's about understanding where the flexibility is and how to adapt it to create unique individual designs that meet the need of the client and the community.
Yeah, and I think you're mentioning something really big. Developers have a purpose. Many of them have different community needs that they're trying to adapt. Some of them are doing workforce housing, some of them are doing apartments, some of them are using their multifamily units as condos. It's obviously all based on the community. When you work with a new developer or you work with an organization that comes to you, how do you facilitate those questions? Like, what are the questions or what are the things that really base or drive the conversation in these pre-construction or these pre-development meetings?
Well, you're right. They want to understand cost. They want to understand repeatability, especially if you're talking with a factory right off the bat. That repeatability piece is huge. An example of this, we're working on a project right now for single family homes where we designed and have shown the client about 5 unique modules, but then we've figured out a way through a series of openings in the walls to arrange these in about 30 different configurations to give unique aspects to their development. And we've rendered this and showed them how we can create some consistency while giving them a great diversity within their final product. And I think that piece for the developer and for the community as well is important to see that they're not getting a factory solution, a factory look, while still getting the economy of a factory solution.
I love that. We have these conversations. I know that you were at the Denver Expo, the Modular Building Institute Denver Expo. Was there one takeaway about design or architecture that really stood out as, yes, we agree with that. That's exactly how we need to start thinking about this type of offsite or prefab solution?
My biggest takeaway is that we're always innovating and we're always trying to come together as a community. We're all trying to push each other forward, and our competition is not necessarily ourselves. It is traditional building. And I think that's one of the bigger takeaways of what the world of modular is the agenda they're trying to push is that we're all in this together trying to advance the industry. And so we need to come together as a community of like-minded individuals and show why and how this can be a better solution for many of our clients.
I love that. And I think that they are moving the needle, right? They are doing things and they are having these conversations. They're also working in the government flow of, how do we alter maybe building codes, or how do we think about labor force? So I really like the work that they have been doing, and I've heard really great things about the event. So I'm so happy you were able to be there.
Yeah, it was a great event.
That's awesome. So getting back to CSHQA and getting back to your community-based projects, how does your company, we're all working with so many different individuals, and not every individual or every single project is going to be our greatest project. How do you guys go about selecting your clients or selecting the type of work that you want to do?
You know, I always like to work with a client who has a unique problem to solve. And you know, I know there are many architects out there who want to only work on projects that have great design, or only want to work on churches or something else. I look for projects that have an opportunity to create something better. And even when I'm working on an individual project or helping on a project, I always look for those opportunities. At the end of the day, I don't care if it's a gas station somewhere. If I can take a detail and create a better solution for the client or the user that's going to make the experience better for the staff or the community, that's a win. And those are the opportunities I like to look for. Those little moments where we can take something and just make it a little bit better.
Beautiful. I think that that is why your company has existed for so long. And I think that's why the longevity of your business has evolved. And having an experience myself in Modular SureSite, the consulting firm that I have, and actually having that live experience with your team, it was very exciting for me to have this opportunity to talk with you and to do this, because we don't usually get those opportunities. And it also makes it exciting for your team to kind of express and to walk through a project. I have to say, education was really wonderful and key, because of many of the people that I work with are first time developers and builders. And so we talk the language, we're in the community, and we have people that are very interested in coming and being a part of it. But education is key, because traditional construction and design is still very different than modular design, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, it is very different. And like any project, communication is also part of that key. And making sure to over communicate and explain sometimes is what it takes. But modular is a whole nother realm as you're trying to figure out how the parts and pieces are going to come together and how exact you need to be within the world of construction, because the tolerances are much different. So understanding how it's built in the factory, how it's transported, how it gets down the road, can it make every turn on the way there? You know, are all critical parts of putting together a building that normally in traditional construction you don't need to think about.
Agreed. And I think you're making such great points. There are so many pieces to this puzzle, and having the experience and allowing your client to know what to expect is so big. And also, let's face it, not every factory builds the exact same way. And as you also referenced, some are steel frame, some are wood frame. It all depends and is based on that project and the project site and what are the best efficiencies. In closing, is there anything else that you'd like to add to give us a little bit more information or a nugget on CSHQA and why our clients should consider your services?
Well, being well versed in how different project types work throughout the country is very important, because modular generally goes through a state program, but not always. So understanding the different jurisdictions throughout the state and how different processes works is always critical, because the last thing you want to do is get through your design process and not know how to actually submit it, how to get it approved, how to get the reviews of the building done, how to get all your inspections completed, and who and where needs to do what to get that accomplished is critically important in having a successful project.
I
And
agree.
that,
I think your scope of work is
yeah,
key, right? I'm
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
yeah, that education sometimes to the building department itself is part of the process, not just the client. The building department many times needs to be educated on modular construction.
Oh my gosh, it's so right. I didn't even think about that. I
Yeah,
came from Denver, where I feel like they have a very good understanding. The state is very progressive, and now I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and I was just talking with our local economic development team there, and this isn't even a conversation in Savannah. Atlanta, absolutely, right? So such a good point. I compliment you on telling us that, because those are really big conversations, especially for a developer or builder to walk into those meetings and not have the support of someone on their team like you explaining it and actually showing proven product, right? Because I think people think prefab, manufactured, everybody has a different idea in their head about what it is and what it looks like. Don't you think, Jesse?
absolutely. And, I always say some of the best modular projects you would never know that they were modular projects from inside or outside. You cannot tell.
And with that, we are going to close on this offsite construction series. I am so proud and honored to have Jesse Goldman with CSHQA. I'm Audree Grubesic on Offsite Dirt. You just learned a little bit more, not only about design, but the impact that they're making with design and the detail and problem solving for a better community and a better world. We are so pleased to be here. Thank you again for being with us on Offsite Dirt.
Thanks for having me.